So we've had some time to think about it, my friends, and I know some people enjoyed the Royal Rumble. A lot of people did not enjoy some of the winners of the Royal Rumbles, but that is why I'm going to give you a platform today, because you know the deal. Around about 28 to 48 hours after a pay-per-view/PLE, when we have had time to settle, I ask for your opinions, or dare we call it your wrestling hot takes, and you have given me them. And of course, one of them ties into the title of this: how dare Roman Reigns win the Royal Rumble? I generally thought it was fine to think Roman Reigns versus CM Punk, if we are heading that direction, is a very good WrestleMania 42 main event, but we wait and see. Please do like, share, and subscribe. And here's what you thought about the flipping Royal Rumble. And we start with Lawazi Volsak, which I have not pronounced properly, so forgive me, I'm an awful person. And you went straight in. Gunther should not have been in the Rumble if he wasn't going to win. Cheapened the big achievement of retiring AJ Styles earlier in the night. My dude, I totally agree with you. Also think number 30 could have been something more exciting. Maybe even Finn Balor could have been there. But yes, I did speak to somebody else, and I agree with their take as well. Because they were like, well, Gunther coming out in number 30, such a balloon pop. Oh man, not that guy. So you do want to put more heat on Gunther, but I totally think you're right. I think right now, Gunther should be totally protected until it is time for him to lose. I don't really understand. Did anybody really think Gunther was going to throw Roman Reigns out? I don't think so. You know what? You've started us off strong, because I have nothing to add to that, apart from the fact I do believe you're 100% correct. Wrestling burner, which is worrying. Given recent events, let's move on. To steal your point, meaning my point for my review yesterday, cheap plug, do check it out. Oba Femi going missing when all the old men, we don't need to say it. Let's not get into age, okay? I appreciate you joining in. It doesn't matter what age people are, just enjoy them, no matter what. But with all the old men join the Rumble and then have his elimination downplayed as naivety, well, I know what you mean. He should have been allowed to launch both Americanos into the front row, probably Bronson Reed as well after the BFT. Boo! Getting some heel heat. So, not necessarily agree with the way that you put it, but I do think that after Oba Femi had that awesome run at the start where he threw out 5 people, he should have continued to throw people out. You know my deal. We talked about it. He should have gone to double digits. I think he should have thrown Brock Lesnar out. Even if it is going to be Brock versus Oba at WrestleMania, why can't Oba get 2 up on him? And going back to the Gunther point, I think it should have been Oba Femi and Roman Reigns at the end. I tried to explain this yesterday, so I'll try again, because maybe I didn't do a very good job of it. That happens a lot. I am an idiot. But Gunther obviously needs to be protected more than Oba Femi, which sounds bizarre, because like, what are you talking about? Protected is probably not the right word, because Oba Femi getting to the final 2 and then being thrown out by Roman Reigns is wow. What a step up that dude just made his debut on the main roster properly after the John Cena show, and then he goes all the way through the Royal Rumble, and of course it's Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, the head of the table, this dude that everybody looks up to. Nobody else is able to stop him. Whereas Gunther, we've already put in that super duper whooper mega position because of the AJ Styles stuff, the John Cena stuff, the Goldberg stuff. So I just think Oba Femi would have benefited more there, and I really did think Oba Femi should have hit double digits. This is probably very specific to me, but I love Oba Femi, and I think WWE has somebody on their hands that can be a massive star. I mean, like I've told you already, I watched the Royal Rumble with some people that don't watch wrestling at all. They weren't even casual fans, and they loved Oba Femi's walk, and that made them more interested in him, and that's all wrestling is. It's why I think people get too mad about the yeet stuff, which I do believe we're going to talk about. They thought it was fun and silly and stupid, and when you make somebody feel entertained, they may watch again, as opposed to us hardcore nerds like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Deep down, people don't actually want wrestling to make sense all of the time. Sometimes it has to. So I agree with the sentiment. I just know your real name is Papa Shango FC. It's way better. Don't bleed green blood at your face. Ben, who's got a much more normal name, says on a more positive note for us older fans, Wade Barrett was hilarious. The It's a Puppet line and referencing Jack Tunney has barred all reptiles from ringside were great pullbacks. Wade Barrett is one of the best things about WWE. He is a fantastic color commentator. I put this on social media during, I think it was a Saturday Night's main event from last year. It was a good 6 months ago. And bless that man, he replied. But I was just, this is going to make me sound like a geek, forgive me. I was just so happy that he'd seen it, because I think sometimes we don't give the plaudits to sort of the, we'll call them additional roles in WWE, but they're so damn important. Like, you can't have a match without wrestlers, obviously, but you need fans, you need commentators, you need the lighting guys, you need people to hold microphones, you need people to build the ring. Like, it's a massive operation. I think, given that Wade Barrett was kind of gone from wrestling for a long old time as he got into movies, thank goodness he came back. I also believe he's the commentator on the video game, WWE 2K26 with Michael Cole. They know too, right? I actually think Wade Barrett is one of the best, we'll use that term again, I think it's stupid, but assets that WWE has, especially because he's so familiar with being a wrestler that when things go wrong, he can cover it in a very unique way. So absolutely, Ben, I'm with you. Wade Barrett rules. I'm just going to call you Domino Mike because I don't know what that other thing means and I'm worried now. However, you put I fear for Kairi Sane. That makes sense. But seriously, give Kairi and Asuka just a couple of minutes on screen and they can tell a better story than anybody else. It is a shame that got so overlooked. I thought Kairi Sane trying to save Asuka and then knocking Asuka out. The problem was, it's already been said elsewhere, so I am stealing it. But I was like, that's such a good point. We never really got any full stops on any of these cool subplots because the music would hit and somebody else would come out. Even with Brock Lesnar and Oba Femi, I went back to check it out and it's true. They're about to fight, but there's entrance music. We can't possibly have a brawl. So that was a bit dumb, but yes. I don't know if we're going to do Asuka versus Kairi Sane at WrestleMania or some variation or with other wrestlers, but they're brilliant together. The story they tell is excellent. They totally understand their roles. They're underrated, and I genuinely think Asuka is one of the best wrestlers ever. Screw men, women, whatever word you want to throw in there. Forget WWE or any kind of promotion too. If you go through her body of work, she's a bit like AJ Styles in the sense if you want to find a bad match, it may be impossible. And she just gets better and better. In this heel role, she's the heel that people want. She ain't cool, man. She's just a terrible, horrible person. And I was like, as soon as Kairi knocked her out, I was like, oh my God, she's going to kill her. She's going to be a murderer as I knock my microphone again. So good. Genuinely one of the best bits about the Rumbles that we probably should talk about more. Uncle Salem. I need to check these names before we get them in there. Oba looked like a star, which was great. To me, the worst thing was Brock completely no-selling Ilya Dragunov in the corner. I'm surprised most people aren't talking about that. Dude, it probably means you're not on social media, which is a plus. That's all people are talking about. I really didn't have a problem with it. And my big takeaway of that is bless Ilya Dragunov for being Ilya Dragunov even with Brock Lesnar. Because we've seen it before. Some people, understandably so, get a bit intimidated by old Brock. Not Ilya Dragunov. He chopped that guy so hard to the point I think Brock Lesnar screamed at him for real. And essentially threw him out of the Rumble that was legitimate too. I quite enjoyed their interaction. I did see some people go, he clearly doesn't respect Ilya Dragunov. He didn't sell for him. I don't think you can make that call till we get to a one-on-one match, right? You go back to the Johnny Moxley match from WrestleMania and other matches that have been a 180 to that. I just thought that was a fun interaction. I wouldn't put that down on Brock and Ilya doing something. There were so many weird random eliminations during the men's Royal Rumble, which I think somebody else has made a point about too. And I just think it actually is more indicative of that than anything else, where you're like, I don't understand why we did that. What was the build? But I was happy they got to do something because, again, Ilya is such an insane person. And Oba Femi did it like a star. I know I've talked about other things that I would have liked to have done with him, but it was still a stellar performance by that man. And he just seems completely unfazed, even when going toe-to-toe with Brock Lesnar. I'm so excited about his future. I've loved that guy for years, ever since he sort of started making a name for himself. The sky's the limit, or whatever that phrase is. It all depends how he does get booked, of course. The man is brilliant, and I send him nothing but the best. Ben, second Ben, same guy, stuck in again maybe. Roman was a safe winner. Clearly Jey winning last year put the fear into the higher-ups and they didn't want to risk somebody new winning. I'm not necessarily sure there's some truth. Actually, I do think there's some truth in that, actually. I'm going to contradict myself. Because it does tie into something I saw on my own social media, because I keep a funny old eye out for these things, because my brain is good at remembering. And a lot of the same people last year that were spamming, which I don't mind, please spam me all the time, it's nice to be cared about, who were going, I can't believe Jey Uso won the Rumble, this is ridiculous. We're also going, I can't believe someone boring like Roman Reigns won. It's like, dude, you can't have it both ways. I did try to engage in conversation, which I never do. And I mentioned that, so yeah, but not Jey Uso, should have been somebody else. It's like, okay, so we're just going to keep going down the moaning rabbit hole. You wanted someone random to win, but not that random. I wanted a different random. I don't know why I decided to poo-poo that, Ben. I think you're probably right. Whether or not they did it because of the Jey Uso thing, I don't know. I think it's more their WWE sometimes like to be very balanced. So if 12 months ago they do pull a surprise out their rectum, this year they will be very, very safe with it. And, well, they rarely do actually surprise winners at the Rumble, but they do that a lot. So they do something that's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. The next time they get to the same crossing point, they'll go the more safe direction, sure. I don't mind. I love Jey Uso winning the Rumble. I love Jey Uso doing his stupid entrance in the Rumble. I just think it's fun. It's one person out of 30. And I feel like if you took that away from wrestling, it'd be damn boring. Doesn't mean you have to like it. It doesn't mean you have to go, this is the most nonsensical thing ever, which it probably is. I'm watching other people, non-wrestling fans, just laugh at the absurdity of it. So I was like, this is why I love wrestling. So yes, Ben, I think you have something there. But I'm glad Jey won. I'm glad Roman won. It's all about the follow-up, right? It all depends. If we are there on that eve of, say, CM Punk versus Roman Reigns, and we're like, I can't believe this feeling I got in my loins, then WWE did it right. And if we're like, we're bored to tears, then they did it wrong. Lexis says, I think the men's Royal Rumble made no sense booking-wise. Roman Reigns has no business winning it apart from Aura, most 2026 sentence ever. I think that not having Oba Femi win is a mistake that should be course-corrected. Maybe money in the bank for him. I mean, I can't get mad at Oba Femi winning it. I think you could have done that, but going back to Ben's point a second ago, they probably didn't want to do a quote-unquote risky choice 2 years in a row, even though I don't think it'd be risky at all. I don't mind Roman Reigns winning. If he's not on TV a lot, and if this rumour that he's going to not make his decision up for a month or so is true, then I'll definitely change my opinion. But as I sit here few hours before Raw. Roman Reigns is a massive star. Roman Reigns versus CM Punk, as I repeat myself for the 32nd time. In the main event, again, if you allow them to cut the right promos and use Paul Heyman in the right way, I assume he'll still be involved in that, will be totally awesome and excellent. I don't mind Bron Breakker not being there if he's going to take on Seth Rollins, if Seth can go, and then Bron Breakker potentially can go Money in the Bank route. As long as Oba Femi gets a massive push and beats Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, I think that's good too. Again, if you gave me the power, I would probably have Oba Femi win just because I think it's more exciting. But I'm not thinking about a mass audience there. I'm thinking about me, and maybe Roman Reigns was the right call. But I can't pretend that I was like, I can't believe Roman Reigns won. I was like, okay, maybe it was a little bit expected and I didn't get the pop that I may have got last year when I couldn't believe that Jey Uso knocked John Cena out. But I kind of just moved on. Not a bad way. If you're furious about it, more power to you. I just don't care. I want to see what WWE is going to do next. Chad says, Cody and LA Knight eliminated Brock made no sense. He's not facing any of them at Mania. Should have been Oba Femi who eliminated him. Well, Chad, we've kindly talked about this. Yeah, I agreed with you. I mean, I love the Brock Lesnar elimination. I know there are some other people out there that have done fake meltdowns in order to try and get hits, and more power to them. Because it worked, I laughed my ass off. It was so stupid. Why is Brock Lesnar getting eliminated, like you say, my friend, from two people he's not going to feud with, or at least not based on this? Maybe you do it down the line for one reason or another. And why did it happen versus Jey Uso's entrance? But then I think, would I rather like a serious exit? And I'm like, no, I wouldn't. I want the silly side, because it made me chuckle and it made me laugh. And I thought about it randomly yesterday and I started laughing again. And that is way more important to me than whatever wrestling wants to do, because we move on so fast. Right, John Cena mentioned this. We'd forget about him for the Royal Rumble. Man, we forgot about him on January 1st. That's nothing to do with John Cena. It's just how the world works. So you're right. It made no sense. It probably was a mistake. Oba Femi probably shouldn't have done it, but it was still damn funny. Graham Wright says the women's match was great and the men's a bit meh, but in the time of sensationalism and everything having to be the greatest, worst thing ever, everybody is overreacting. Graham, you get the powerful, bored round of applause. It's exactly how I feel about it. Everything does need to be the best match ever, the worst match ever, or change somebody's life, or apparently it has no worth, which is not the case at all. John Lennon said, like, wasted time isn't wasted if you enjoy it. He said it way more poetically than that. And if you sat down and watched the Royal Rumble and you had a good time for 3+ hours, you win. You really do. The men's Royal Rumble, even though statistically by the rules it shouldn't be true, went less than an hour. Now, if we do the maths, there was 30 entrants and 2-minute entrances. It has to go at least 60 minutes. And I think Charlotte Flair actually lasted longer in the women's Royal Rumble than the entirety of the men's. But looking back, I think that WWE racing the men out there and doing less than 2-minute intervals worked. Again, especially with the people I were with, they loved the pace of it. Oh, there's another guy. Oh my gosh, there's another guy. So I respect WWE for doing that. So there are certainly positives we can take away. As Graham mentioned, there's negatives too. I did prefer the women's to the men's, but there were also parts of the men I did enjoy, and I thought it was a fine Royal Rumble. And maybe when it comes to Rumble, it needs to be more than fine, but fine is still fine. John Richards says we have to stop expecting multiple surprises. It hasn't happened for years. Too many high expectations make it unfairly disappointing. I'll pause it right there. I agree with you, and I think we're all to blame for expecting Chris Jericho, because nobody had hinted at that, not AEW, not Jericho, not WWE. But it's still fun to fantasy book, and as long as you don't go out crazy on the internet, you're allowed to be disappointed because you wanted to see someone and not apply blame to it. However, I will say Triple H did say expect loads of surprises. I think he needs to stop saying that stuff. I understand he's a promoter and all promoters do it, but then I do think you get into murky territory. You also mentioned Roman, Punk, Rollins, Breakker, maybe Lesnar, Sami Zayn, Oba Femi, Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, father in Elimination Chamber, and just how bad is Bianca's finger? I don't understand the Elimination Chamber thing. And Roman wouldn't be. Is this? I don't know what that means. I'm just going to move on. I do want to shout out Bianca Belair. No idea what's going on with her. I presume it must be an injury, but there could be something else. You never know. It sucked she wasn't in the Royal Rumble, but as always, wrestling is the most important, the least important things. I hope she's okay. I had her on my bucket list to win, as well as Liv Morgan. They would be my two choices. So again, I just hope she's okay, because wrestling's fun, but it's not as important as real life. Words of Rich. Your name's Rich, going to give me some words. Women's was decent. Some good storytelling between tag teams and showcase NXT talent with a couple of surprises. Men's was poor. No surprises. No real storytelling. A lot of nothing. Brock no selling Dragunov. Lots of people are mad about that. And the less said about Jay's entrance, the better. I appreciate the fact you're here, but you must hate me. I loved it. It's just, why? Also, you don't get the payoff of Roman Reigns punching him in the face. And Roman Reigns telling Jey Uso to do it for a third time and punching him in the face. And then Jey Uso being like, I'm still going to be your buddy cousin because he's been totally wrecked by the bloodline. That tickles me, man. It just does. I'm not going to use my usual catchphrase of saying if it's not for you, that's cool, which it is. I never want that stuff to go away. It's goofy wrestling for life. And if wrestling did make sense, well, you wouldn't even get a powerbomb. Kate J says the women's was far better than the men's. It made more sense in terms of storytelling and building the stars. The men's was a mess. I don't think I'd go as far as to say it was a mess. AAA wrestlers adding nothing. I don't want to say they add nothing, because that's unfair on them, but they were put in an awful position. Totally agreed. The way Brock was eliminated, the whole Uso entrance, the only thing they did well was build Oba. I like the Drew McIntyre Cody Rhodes elimination as well. I thought that was a nice way to keep that feud going, and Cody Rhodes will probably win the Elimination Chamber. I didn't see that coming, even though that was super simple booking, so I did like that. And there were other elements as well. The Bron Breakker stuff I loved. I think somebody else has got a comment about the Bron Breakker thing. People think that's him being buried. I don't understand that at all. If you're not going to win, be in the really super cool, fun angle. Like Chelsea Green said that. If you're not going to win the Rumble, come up with something dumb to do because people will remember it more. And if Bron Breakker does have to take a detour to face a Seth Rollins, because I think it is going to be Austin Theory under that mask, that's great. As long as Bron Breakker wins, it goes back to the Oba Femi stuff and the Roman Reigns stuff. Now it's all about the payoff. And if WWE drops the ball, again, I'll look back at the Royal Rumble and have a different opinion. But I appreciate you, Kate. And yes, gun to my head, I think the women's was better than the men's. But also, comparison is the thief of joy. Conti TV, which we're all going to tune into, said, why is Jey Uso... There's another Jey Uso one. Why is Jey Uso running it back during the Rumble? I love funny moments, but it doesn't really make sense. I don't know, it could just be me, but it doesn't make sense. But I don't know why anybody would want wrestling to make sense. I don't want it to be nonsensical all of the time, but because it's wrestling, you can do whatever you want. I mean, Irish whips don't make sense. Like, nothing makes sense, ever. The whole concept is totally mad. But that's why I love it so much. But listen, there's horses for courses. And I would imagine if the Royal Rumble was the greatest Rumble ever and Jey Uso had done that in the middle, less people would have been complaining. But if you didn't enjoy the Rumble, then all of a sudden these things start to stack up, and of course they do feel a bit worse. But man, Jey Uso, you're never going to see this. I want you to know I'm your biggest fan. I think you're great. You entertain me so much because you're a goofball. And I mean that in a positive way. I'm a goofball too, and all of my favourite wrestling characters are goofballs. Keep it going, man. You live in a dream. James Robinson is getting in there with a big old thing, which I appreciate. Women's Rumble, good, but just a bit weird. No other information, so I'm never going to know. Right winner, but felt restrained. I think the first half, probably yes. Gunther versus AJ, as expected. Where will AJ go next? I'm now starting to think he didn't take his gloves off because he's just going to retire on Raw. Then we're all going to like idiots, but that's fine. Drew Sammy, solid, right result. Men's Rumble, just not for me. Loved Oba, Javon Evans, and Iguana. I really like Javon Evans, and everybody I watched it with loved Javon Evans too. But the Brock Uso bit and Roman one, no thanks. We're not going to talk about those last three bits because we've covered it. Mr. Iguana and La Parka, they were given no chance because nobody knew who they were because they were in Saudi Arabia, which is nobody's fault, or maybe it's WWE's fault. Oba Femi, brilliant. And yeah, Javon Evans and Trick Williams. I thought they really came across as dudes that had been on the main roster for years. They didn't feel out of place in a Raw Rumble that was star-studded, and I think that's a massive positive. Poppy says, bad. No Kit Wilson. He's getting such natural momentum, and it was daft to not use him in a spot. Some of the more established names came out and did nothing, like Penta, Rusev, Phoenix. Don't think it would have hurt any of them to not have been there, and a Kit spot could have been gold. Poppy, I'm just going to say you're 100% correct. I agree with you. There are some rumours rumbling out there at the moment, so I won't say anything else. But it was a mistake. Land's End says women's Royal Rumble was consistently entertaining. Men's Royal Rumble I checked out here and there. I thought BB, Bron Breakker being nerfed at the beginning was clever writing, but the match was spotty and mostly engaging overall. Both matches lacked any real oomph though. I think the oomph in a Royal Rumble comes from either a surprise entrance-wise or people being thrown out when you don't expect it. And aside from Brock Lesnar, we didn't really get that. But I do agree with you. I think the Bron Breakker thing was super interesting. Again, he wasn't booked to win. And he could have been in that last 1-2 position instead of Gunther, which I would have preferred. And you could have set up a Roman Reigns match. I'm not saying there wasn't other directions we could have taken. But if WWE does land all this stuff with the Vision and potentially Austin Theory being Seth Rollins' spy, I think that could set up some really good TV. So right now, I like it. David said mostly felt that it was all a little bit predictable or plodding. As soon as Bron was taken out, you knew who was winning and it felt lazy. So Ruka, possibly the standout performer of the whole night. Also, she managed to make her ring gear actually look cool as opposed to some. All things considered, I don't think we should criticize any of them for the ring gear for reasons you'll be able to figure out, but she did look cool, and some other people did as well. I thought they all did great. Sol Ruka, Kalani Jordan was in it, right? JC Jane, and somebody else that I can't remember. It was Lola Vice, I believe, right? It's been a lot the last couple of days. Once again, I think they're all good to go. I think JC Jane should be on the main roster. I think she's proven, and some of the things she did in this Rumble as well. She just seems so self-assured, and that's probably come from being in the system for so long. But I think she would benefit from having a fresh coat of paint by being on a Raw or a SmackDown. So I hope that happens for her. I can't see it anytime soon, but maybe after WrestleMania. And there we go. There are some of your hot takes, which I do appreciate. I understand some of them are going to be negative because, of course, that's usually what happens when you search your feelings. But as always, thank you very much for contributing. I think where I have landed now I've had time to think about it is really happy that Liv Morgan won. I've talked about Roman Reigns. I did prefer the women's to the men's. Sami versus Drew, I think ultimately was done because Sami is now going to become a super duper underdog to battle back to the World Championship. And AJ Styles, I still have no idea. But I think that's a massive feather in WWE and AJ's cap, and Gunther too, for confusing me so much. AJ versus Gunther was the match of the night, and him not taking his gloves off has created this other narrative. If he goes to AEW, New Japan, TNA, whatever, good for AJ Styles. If anybody is deserved to decide how they ended their career, it's that guy who has given so much to wrestling. We can give a little bit back to AJ. Now listen, you may be hearing some of this and going, why did that person say that? So please do drop me a comment below if you like the video, share the video and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is my Royal Rumble review when we get into all of this. And I'd love to hear what you thought as well. Otherwise, it is patreon.com/Simon316 for watch-alongs. It's GorillaMind.com/Simon. It's a fitness company that sponsors the channel. And you ship worldwide. They're fitness supplements. They're good. And using the code Simon gets money off. Come tell me I'm an idiot and join in with these at Simon316 on all social media. Same with TikTok, same with Pro Wrestling Tees, and same with Cameo. Thank you to everyone that supports the Simon Miller brand, which is the worst thing I've ever said. I hate myself now, but don't worry, I will make sure I find some love in my soul, which is a dumb thing to say. Have a great week, my dudes. See you soon.